Welcome back to the I Jupiter podcast. I'm Tom Franklin, your host, and going to do a little housekeeping. Thank you guys very much. I'm getting a couple more subscribers because there was a changeover from the Lost Frequency to the I Jupiter, and there was a couple people who kind of faded away because they loved the format as well as I, so I understand. And then we had a couple picking up on the back end of doing what I do here. Very interesting guest today. I put out threw out some bait on Reddit, and this gentleman contacted me, Mr. Josh Leonard, and he is into psychedelics. Also a big thing of mine. As you can see, my mushrooms here and my intro video has kind of a psychedelic feel to it because it's been a part of my life. And he was like, hey, I don't have any maybe ghosts or paranormal or lost societies or things of that nature, but I can talk about psychedelics. And I was like, man, that's perfect. So I'm happy to have him on. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the I Jupiter podcast, Mr. Josh Leonard.
Hey, Tom, I appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on, brother. So for all those, for all my viewers or, subscribers or friends or followers of the show, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you?
So my name's Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Pursuit of Infinity podcast. I host the podcast with my brother, who is also a psychonaut as I am. And what we do is 1 week, me and him will have a discussion. We'll talk about whatever we feel, is pertinent at the time. Usually psychedelics are a big topic, metaphysics, UFOs, all types of things like that. And then the following week, I'll interview somebody within a relevant topic. Again, usually somebody involved with psychedelics. And we go from there.
And that's so fantastic. It's a fantastic. So what's the name of the podcast one more time?
The name is Pursuit of Infinity.
Pursuit of Infinity. That's very interesting. So this is definitely a run-of-the-mill question, but let's go. Let's shoot from the hip first. Where did you come up with a name like that?
So actually my brother came up with it. We were working through a bunch of names and logos and stuff like that. And we just had lists upon lists upon lists. And I think what triggered his mind was the pursuit of happiness. And then he thought, well, why not just replace that with infinity? So Pursuit of Infinity. And it's funny, actually, when I first started to, bounce around the idea of a podcast, I was in the middle of taking a course through Psychedelics Today. It was called Navigating Psychedelics for Clinicians and Therapists, and then Navigation and Self-Care. And as part of the course, in the final week or so, they had us do what they called an integration project. So people were putting together pieces of art, plans for the future. One person applied for a job at MAPS, which is the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, which is pretty cool. So I decided, me and my brother had been bouncing around this idea of a podcast. So I thought, why not just structure the thing, plan it all out, put together a presentation. And I had a whole bunch of names and logos associated with these names. And I actually asked all the people in the course in our last live lecture to vote on what they thought was the best name. And they voted on Pursuit of Infinity. So I went with it.
Wow. There you go. So, so why psychedelics? What has been your fascination with these substances?
Well, it
or
started when,
medicines, maybe better said. Excuse me.
yeah, I mean, in some circumstances, for sure, medicine is a great word for it. And it started for me when I started to look at the world. It was around 2016, 17. You're seeing these crazy presidential elections in America, and, all this division and the tumultuous nature of our culture and our society. And I was also, at the same time, as I'm questioning these systems, I'm starting to get into like alternate theories of science, many of them involving like consciousness being fundamental as opposed to like space time, which is the like materialist physical paradigm that we all have been,
Oh wow.
bred under for a long time. I came across this book called Biocentrism, which is by a guy named Robert Lanza, who puts forth a really compelling hypothesis for, a basic scientific paradigm that contains consciousness as the fundamental force of reality. And at the same time as all of this is happening, I stumbled upon Terrence McKenna, and then it was over, man. I
Yeah,
heard him
I got
speaking
you,
about it,
man.
and yeah,
Oh,
it was over.
Psychedelics to Line has been, on my top of my playlist ever since I ran into it. I was just like, those who do not know Terrence McKinnon, on this channel, I put a short like compilation of some of his lectures about some of his ideas and concepts. And I got to tell you guys, he's a wordsmith. He's a very well-spoken gentleman. A very what's the word? Like introspective. A lot of his theories I think have come true, and a lot of it maybe he's seen it in the reverse. I think he kind of missed on a couple things, but and actually maybe it's just the way I'm perceiving the way things have happened. But if you don't know Terrence McKenna, guys, do yourself a favor, go back and do some research. He's fantastic, Josh.
Yeah, he was one of the beautiful minds of our time. I mean, even if his hypotheses and theories of like his time wave zero and some of the things that
Right.
he claimed to have been like a solidified like theory, even if they didn't come to fruition necessarily, like his ability to theorize and hypothesize about ideas that just are so far beyond anything that was happening at the time,
Yep.
it's bar none, unparalleled.
He would say things, and he was so good at unpacking the concepts. That's what I was always amazed by. He would take like the concept of the philosopher's stone and just and you don't know anything about it, and he doesn't make you feel like a dummy. He's just kind of like takes you on the ride of his consciousness and his mind and the way he looks at the world. And he was like you, a psychonaut. He would do I don't I think the word I guess the word on the street kids is candy flip. He would take things like smoke DMT or dimethyltryptamine, and then like also at the same time like smoke marijuana on top of it just to see what that would do. His self-transforming machine elves in the D&T realm, all these concepts and the way he made it like visual for his audience and his listeners was just bar none. I don't know how to. I mean, there's maybe a few other speakers that I love, but he's one of them for sure.
Yeah, not to mention his brother Dennis as well, who was the same, but more of like a scientifically minded guy.
A little bit more, yeah, a little bit more, yes. But at the same time, he has a great way of putting things too. And the Terrence passed. I think it was in 2000 of cancer, and his brother Dennis has been like keeping the ball rolling ever since. And he's also a fantastic speaker. So go check him out too.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel compelled to mention a man named Kalindi Iyi. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I haven't.
So he actually passed away in 2020, but he was an African martial arts master who would go into like what he would call the realms of legend, where he would take like 30, 40, 50 dried grams of mushrooms
Oh my
and just, I mean,
god.
he'd
Oh
go in
oh
as
my.
deep as it was possible to go. And what he would
Oh,
come out with are just these extravagant, amazing stories about going to the plank length and like, you know, surfing the waves of infinity on the molecular and atomic levels, and just like amazing stuff. And what he did was he would quote a lot of Aztec philosophy,
wow.
um, and you can go and research everything he says, and it's very, very legit. He's a very, very awesome guy.
Is he also like a well-oriented man? Like, is he? There's a videos on YouTube you can find of him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh wow,
I
I'm
believe his name is
definitely looking
spelled
that up.
K. His name is spelled Kilindi Kalindi Iyi. You'll be fascinated by what he has to say. It's crazy stuff.
Wow, that's so cool. So cool. I always love. This is why I do it too, because these. Okay. Connection. You there, Josh?
Yep. All right. Gotcha. I got you back. Lost you for a
That
second there.
it might be me. Might be me. I don't know. I am in Mexico. I mean, it's nothing. That's nothing bad to the Mexican people, but they're. I actually work in construction, so I can actually see some of the work they do, and sometimes it's very underwhelming.
That's the
To be
perils of
honest with
using
you.
technology, you know?
The girls are using technology. I was going to make it a mission. Like, okay, so first time I smoked marijuana was, I don't know, maybe 15 with my parents, and nothing really happened. But the first time I remember really getting high in my life was one time I was offered while I was in the army, because I know that at least at the time there was the information. This is 20 something years ago. That if you take mushrooms, it like leave your system in like 3 days. So you have to be careful of the blood test in the military. So I was like, all right, I'll take it. And this woman, I was in Germany, and that's back when in Holland when you can actually get the stems and the caps and everything, and it came in like a plastic like shell container. And she was like, "Yeah, here you go, give it to me, 50 bucks, whatever it was. I can't remember what it was." And I was just like, "Okay, I'll try those." And think, I think it was around 600 wet grams. So I can't imagine what it would be, because it did a number on me. It really messed me up. I was not ready for it, put it that way. And the whole thing lasted about 5 6 hours. And I've never cleaned my room so fast. I've never felt straight hallways go up the way they did and steps looking like they're in a Tim Burton movie. It was very heavy, but I think it is because I didn't know about it and I went about it in the wrong way. But if I had a sitter or somebody who was a little bit more, I guess you would say, versed in these kind of realms, then maybe it would have been better for me. And I wanted to talk to you about that because you were just telling me before we started that you are about to pass this, or be able to do this, be a sitter.
Yeah. As I said prior, I took a course through Psychedelics today, so I do have a certificate through them. But I found this course through the Blue Morpho Academy, which I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Blue Morpho, but it is one of the best ayahuasca retreats in Peru, led by Maestro Hamilton Souther. And he put together this academy. So I participated for this is the very first year of 2023 was the first course. And I'm just now getting to the point where, because after the course is over, there are things you have to do. You have to actually get experience in the field, in terms of sitting for people. So now I'm about to have my final sit and get certified for this.
That's fantastic. That's so fantastic. So to be able to do this, I'm sure you're going to have to be able to take these substances, medicines, and visit these realms. Which one was either your first, or what's the first? If I were to ask you, not picking favorites, but what was the one that gave you maybe the most insight as you either took it or reflected back upon it later after taking it?
Oh, for sure, mushrooms. Mushrooms have been my favorite. They have given me everything. I mean, ever since the beginning, since I've started doing them, they, I mean, it's like there's just a long litany of things that they've done for me and ways that they've changed my life. Like so many. I mean, first, while I was questioning all of reality and trying to find my place in it, it sort of allowed me to build the foundations of a framework that allowed me to question these systems in a way that was like productive, because some people can find things like this destabilizing, but mushrooms really helped me to to question reality in the correct way. And I would say the biggest thing that they've given me, the most, probably the most eventful like frame of reference I can say would be there was a time in, I think it was about 2017, where me and my now fiance were going through some really rough times, and we had decided that we really wanted to make the relationship work. And I suggested we should try doing mushrooms together and see what would happen. So we took them together, and the experience that ensued was absolutely amazing for us. It allowed us to connect on a new level, a level that we were not previously able to connect on and communicate on. We felt each other's soul, and
Yes.
another thing that's really interesting about doing a psychedelic with someone, especially someone that you care for very deeply, is your ability to touch the divine together, because you feel that
Oof.
that divinity in yourself, and then you also feel it within that person, and being able to share that experience, it changed our entire relationship and both of our lives individually as well.
Wow. I get that in the. I'm a big fan of cannabis. I get that if I get the right strain, or sometimes sometimes it can be a little up and down, or I get a surprise one. He's like, "Here, try this," kind of thing. I did that recently with my girlfriend, and we looked at each other and just smiled and laughed and watched a movie, and then would talk and then know that we couldn't be talking but trying to pay attention to, and laughing that we're laughing. It's a profound experience, and a lot of people, I think, in my opinion, take say cannabis for granted. They misuse her. It's a female entity to me, and they use it for other purposes. But for me, it's always been kind of like, it helps me self reflect. Sometimes it'll beat me up and say, I don't think you should be thinking this way or doing this way, or have you seen this about yourself? And there's also times where it's like, you know what? I know you have a lot of worries, but you're doing good. Keep doing what you're doing. You're going to be all right. So yeah, just utter profoundness. Thanks, Josh. That really put me in a place.
Of course, man. And I totally agree with you, man. Cannabis is very psychedelic if taken the correct way and really appreciated in the correct way. So I totally agree with you, man.
Yes, yes, amazing, amazing. So psychedelics. So there's the let's go ahead and just jump to the top. Um, Dimethyltryptamine. Have you taken it, and what did you see while taking, or what did you feel, or what kind of wisdom can you possibly remember to impart upon us?
I have taken it, yes. And it is the
Wow.
most outrageous thing in history. I mean, I really love mushrooms, as I said before, and like, you can really get in there deep for a few hours and get some true wisdom on your life and, the nature of reality and all this kind of stuff. But man, DMT is just like this rocket ship to a different dimension altogether. And it's so weird, so strange, and so vivid. I mean, when I do it, it's just outrageous, man. One time, I had an experience where, um, so I took the hit, because the way that I do it, you only need to take one hit, and you just take the whole thing. And as you may know, if you've taken it before, you want to kind of close your eyes and sort of like leave this plane of existence, because once you take it, you're off, like you're gone. So I remember I'm holding it in, and I took a swallow, and when I swallowed, it was like this earthquake reverberation throughout my entire existence, like it was the greatest swallow of all time. And then I was off.
Oh my God.
And what happened was, like, I was in this like strange geometric stained glass patterned, like moving infinite space, and what appeared directly in the center of my vision was what looked to me like, now I'm not a Christian at all. I mean, maybe I'm just preconceived to have Christian iconography in my head because I'm an American, but it looked to me like it was like an entity of the Mother Mary. And she was just feeding me all this love, and she was welcoming me to the space and guiding me through it. Man, it's outrageous. And the thing that's really different about DMT than mushrooms is that it is so vivid. The visuals sometimes on mushrooms, while I'm having them, I kind of wish they were a bit crisper and they were a bit more like there, so to speak. But DMT, they're just completely, I mean, everything is perfect and it's so bright,
Wow.
colorful, and just amazingly in focus.
Wow. I've heard that about it, that it can be so just abrupt. You can be shot to another dimension, speak to beings made of light with their consciousness. And I know that to take these, you have to have a lot of courage to do so. But I've never been able to muster up the courage to even try DMT, to be honest with you, or even go back to mushrooms, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, there was a very famous quote by Alan Watts where he said, when you get the
Ah,
message, hang up the phone. And I mean, I
mhm.
personally, like, I feel like I think Dennis McKenna had commented on that quote, and he said, "Well, there's more to know, so I want to pick that phone up again sometimes, and I want to hear, what they have to say." But I completely understand people who get that message and want to hang it up because the more you do it, the harder it gets, as Terrence McKenna often said.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. So these substances, what is the implications of this? I mean, because people can take like kundalini, like yoga, and practice for 20 years and possibly reach, something that Terrence often said, would possibly reach this type of state of being. But why do you think these substances are here, and what are the implications?
Well, to me, I mean, if you just take a look at mushrooms to begin with, if you look at the fungal networks and the mycelial networks that are underground, I mean, they act as sort of an internet, a communication
Mm,
system between plants. They decompose dead things. I mean, they have such a integral role in the functioning of the planet itself. And it seems to me that part of what the mushroom is a sort of a communication agent from the earth to its living beings. And we as humans, we need to hear the message more than any other living being on the planet because we have the ability to interact with our environment in a way that no other animal does. And we can
right,
either make or break this planet. So I feel like one, they are like an intergalactic, celestial communication method, for the right messages to get to the biological entities that need them. And then, obviously people talk about, the divine nature of their experiences. They talk about feeling and touching God. Um, they talk about, the religions of the world as pointing to the same thing that you get to experience when you have these mushrooms, but they're just like a streamlined way of getting there. And I truly believe that, as well as their ability to, to heal in so many different ways. I mean, all the ailments that you see, with people in our country, in all countries of the world, we have a mental health crisis everywhere, and
mm,
these mushrooms and all the psychedelics seem to play a very big role in the healing of not just our culture, but just humanity as a whole, in my opinion.
kind of sets you on a different frequency. You know, this frequency, like, as they get up, they drink the coffee, they either go into school or they hopefully not too young, or you know what I mean, and then they have their daily routine. They come home, they order their pizza, and then they watch movies until they get tired, take a bath or shower, and then go to bed. And then there's that frequency got mess is being altered right now. In my opinion, it's being altered intentionally. I'm a man of God. I'm not Christian myself. Um, but I have had contact with this entity myself, for me, and I so there's a all powerful good, and there's clearly, in my eyes, in my estimation, an all powerful evil that is now kind of taking root of that frequency I was talking about. And what psychedelics does, it kind of like, it's not a reset as much as it is. a reminder of our connection to everything, and especially to the earth.
Yeah, I totally agree. You talk about the connection to the divine or God. And I think that's a big difference is that in our cultures, we're taught in our schools not to believe in any sort of higher power than ourselves. We're taught to believe that we're it. When we die, we go into a black room. Basically, that's our experience. Everything is
Hmm.
shut off and there's nothing after that. But what psychedelics teach you is that, first of all, we don't know shit. We think
Oh
we
God,
have a handle on what reality is, what happens after death. We don't know anything. And the fact that it can ignite your curiosity in a way that opens the doors of possibility in a way that nothing else can, to me, that is a big difference. It in terms of adjusting your frequency, not to mention the brain chemistry itself that it's doing. I mean, there's the receptor in the brain that basically accepts serotonin, the HT2A receptor. It's said that if you've read Food of the Gods, as you
yes,
say,
I have.
Terrence McKenna talks about um, the fact that we evolved or we co-evolved by using psychedelic mushrooms. And there's a guy named Jahan Khamzadeh who wrote a book called The Psilocybin Connection, and he talks about the HT2A receptor and how he hypothesizes that psilocybin, which is in the magic mushroom, actually helped to grow and create the receptor itself in order for us to be able to accept serotonin in general, which is just an astounding
That's a
discovery because
crazy concept
yeah, because
that it
psilocybin
made it.
actually fits into that receptor better than serotonin does.
Wow, so it like wanted to bring itself into existence, or wanted to bring itself into the discussion of consciousness in a different way by us talking about it. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Oh my
or like
God,
maybe
that's
it
crazy.
wanted to help give us the ability to more deeply understand the message that it carries with it.
Right. And if you're okay, I don't know if it's an evolution thing. So if it is somehow connected to Darwin's theory of evolution or whatever. I actually read the book, but it's boring. Don't read it. But yeah, so it's bringing that concept in that you either can believe or not believe, knowing what you and I know now. There's something to it, but it's not everything. Um, Man, I lost my train of thought there. Man, I lost my train of thought. Josh, the table is yours.
I
I
think
was going somewhere really profound, but I lost track of it.
I do think one thing that's really important to bring up, as we had sort of touched on earlier, was like the correct and sort of safe method of doing psychedelics.
Okay?
And then we sort of got into how through the Blue Morpho Academy, I'm trained to be a psychedelic sitter and coach. And one of the very first things you have to do philosophically is our teacher Hamilton Souther would say you take the substances yourself, you work on yourself, and you do the work yourself so that you can also guide others. And the methods to which you guide others are very important because these substances can be so insane and so destabilizing that, as you
Yes, we
had
haven't talked
said,
about that.
in
Yes,
your initial experience, like it can be really crazy, right?
yes, it'll be rough. It'll be very rough. I remember looking in the mirror and seeing like my cheekbones and all the high points coming forward as my eyes and the mouth are going back, and trying to take a shower and it felt like slime, and it was it was a rough one because I think if you go about it with the wrong intentions and you're unexperienced in it, it can be a rough one. And if you're not ready for it, especially if you hold on and think you have any type of control, there's a part of it that's very interesting is giving into it. And I guess you would say to be Freudian, to like to, the dissolution of the ego or to killing of the ego, to be able to experience it in a happy way. So it's like a teacher teaching you to let go. Because if you don't let go, then it's going to beat you up.
Yeah, exactly. If you try to grab onto it and you try to take control of it, it's not going to let you do that because it is in control. It's like when you buy the ticket and you take the ride. So whatever you're being presented with, there are certain methods that are important to understand in order to be able to handle what's happening to you, and also to be able to transmute the experience into something that's positive. Because again, as you said, man, intentions are everything. If you go in with the intention to heal, you maintain that intention throughout the entire experience. So when something does arise in you, you approach it in a way to learn from it in order to heal. So, I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
even if, usually what my intentions are, or like, are exploration, cosmic exploration, and as you said, learning, because it is a teacher. And if you have that mentality, there are, like, it's a very, very different experience than if you just go into it sort of not knowing what you're doing at all, having not done any sort of research, or even in some sort of a party setting or an unsafe setting. If you're in, if you're at someone's house, if you're in a car about to drive somewhere or something, if you're in a situation where you have obligations, you really just want to try to um, honor this substance as a sacrament, and dedicate your entire night to it. No
Wow.
obligations, no one's coming to the door, no keys, no phone, no weapons, like nothing like that. You're sitting there in a comfortable position with music too. Music is so important.
It's
And
incredible.
yeah, what kind of music do you like to listen to while you're
My
while you're tripping?
favorite, Josh, you're going to get me in. You're going to spark off one of my favorite things to talk about. My favorite band is Yob, which is psychedelic nu metal, and it's insane. Like the feelings I get when I listen to that music, either stoned or not stoned, has changed because I went through a long bout with depression. Coming here has helped immensely. And listening to that music and knowing that it's pure love and actually seeing them live, it's been one of the cornerstones or foundations of my being. Like if you were able to plug the sounds in my head and in my heart into someone's ears, it would be that band. So that's what I feel about that.
It's amazing. And yeah, it has such a powerful, profound effect on you, even after you listen to a song that you've listened to while you were having the
Yeah.
experience of a psychedelic. You listen to it the next day, and it can bring you right back to that experience. It's such a magical thing.
Yes, or I can even love the music beforehand in a certain way, and then while taking it, love it in another way. You'll see another angle or another way of seeing it or feeling it. Like it make I think the substance, like when you listen to music, you're listening to music, right? But when you take these substances, you are feeling the music and kind of the intention behind the music a lot of times. And you go, oh, so it gives it a whole new level of understanding. And it's just one of my favorite things to do is just have really good headphones on, smoke a doober, go into a room, turn the lights off, and just play a song from them called "In Our Blood." It's like 15 minutes long or some craziness, 13 minutes, I can't remember exactly. And just take that ride, and it's and then it feels so much better. Or yeah, I even remember listening to that song, jumping in a sauna in the Alps, and knowing that the song is 13 minutes. Like, oh, if I can listen to this song, then I can stay in this sauna for 13 minutes too, and help me get through some stuff too. So music, incredible. What about you, Josh? What is your muse when it comes to music?
Oh man, I love a little bit of everything. But
Okay.
when I'm tripping, when I'm having a psychedelic experience, I really love listening to chill step. It's not quite dubstep. It's like a very melodic, like calm, like electronic type music, and it
Mhm.
varies greatly. But I find that on a psychedelic, it's really, really beautiful, and it helps me to unlock some of the really, really deep feelings of love and oneness that I love so much about psychedelics. And
Yes.
um, they
Yes.
yeah, I mean, as you said, man, this like the music is just it's
It's a
so
different approach. Even
astounding.
that, I bet you could listen to my music and see what I see, and I could listen to your music and see what you see in it. And then because you were talking about what's your intention getting into it, maybe yours is healing. Mine has always been like exploration. And that music makes me feel like the power of the universe is coming through. And I also am a guitar player as well. and listening to these styles of music like Sleep and their album Dope Smoker. It's one song and it's over an hour long, and it took them 4 years to write it. It's like it's like insane. Like they had like a crazy story. They were going to write, so they put out their first album, and then so they were like, okay, this is a great album. It's called Holy Mountain, and it's a stoner. It's the kind of the initiators of stoner doom. And so they were like, okay, and they were like, okay, here's $250,000 and make us a new record. 3 years in, they're like, yeah, we're broke because we spent $250,000 on weed writing this one song. And then you listen to it and you're just like, I mean, you have to be stoned to listen to it. It's my opinion, but I love it. And because it's also so wacky, and I love things that are a little bit out of tune.
You'll have to send me some of their stuff when we get offline. You have to email some of it to me. 'Cause
Sure.
I'm not sure I've ever heard of them before. Are they similar to like Spangle or like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard? Have you heard of them?
No, no.
Some crazy like trippy rock.
I don't know. Do you like stoner rock? I mean, like Mastodon and stuff like that. That can be a
Yeah.
little bit that direction. To kind of maybe somewhere in between. That's where we'll find each other, like a Mastodon. But it's a little bit slower. It's deeper tune. My favorite is like drop A tuning, so it's got that. It's kind of corn tune, but without the flappy bass. So if you know what I'm talking about,
Mhm.
it's more, and it's all in waves. Like the music comes in waves, like vroom, vroom, and it's all about how loud they can get and what tuning they're on. Not the tuning, but the way they take out like and add certain elements to the distortion that makes it sound like this incredible wave of love that hits you every time they hit that note. it's crazy. It's very rhythmic and slow, but I love it.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, send me some of that because I'm
Told you,
always
Josh. I'm
down
sorry.
to
I'm sorry.
listen to new stuff.
I'm sorry, Josh. I told you, don't get me down this road. I love you. I love my music. I mean, I can
Oh
listen
man,
to other things too. Country music
music is
and
one of the
classical
it's one of the purest expressions of the human form, you know? So of
of
course,
existence.
the psychedelic
Yes.
experience is going to harness that, whether you're listening to it or playing it, because some people like to play music while they're under the psychedelic experience too, or create, songs, even if they're not playing it while they're tripping. The inspiration for a lot of music comes from those experiences, especially if you look at the Beatles
What
and
do you
like a
think?
lot of the early stuff.
Yeah. What do you think the inspiration comes for these Icaros songs? Where is that exactly coming from? Because you know what I'm talking about, Icaros, the
Icaros.
song
Ah,
that they play while you're in the trip known as ayahuasca, which is still the same active ingredient as DMT, but it's mixed with a root that has you probably know the wording, and enables your body to actually absorb it, but it comes in a much slower, different way than DMT, where DMT you're being shot out of a cannon. This one you're being set in a jungle where it's like blue and purple, and there's a jaguar and there's a UFO made of feathers. It's much different experience, I think.
yeah, no, I've never actually taken ayahuasca, but as I had mentioned, the Blue Morpho Academy, where I'm being certified, our maestro is an ayahuasquero. He's a master shaman in
Okay,
Peru.
wow.
So, and I'm glad you brought up Icaros because I was going to go there next in terms of music and sound.
Oh wow.
Um, and dude, yeah, the Icaros, they're amazing. And not just for ayahuasca. You can take mushrooms and listen to the same Icaros, and they have a profound effect. And what the ayahuasqueros say about the Icaros is that they learned them from the plants. Like the plants themselves, while you're training to become a shaman, they will teach you these Icaros. And along with them,
Wow.
there are certain instruments, like they use rattles and this instrument called the shakapa, which is like a formation of leaves that's tied together and they shake it. Makes like a noise.
I've heard this.
And
Yes. Yes.
yeah, along with whistling.
That's
And
what that's called. Oh wow.
yeah. And these are just, I mean, I would have never like sought out Icaros to listen to before knowing about psychedelics because they're very basic, The melodies aren't really extravagant. It's just like I said, very basic. It consists of the voice, and it's not like you're listening to a Whitney Houston voice. It's a very basic sort of
No.
melody, and just the shaking of a chicapa and some whistling. And what these Icaros can do is, again, being that the plants teach the ayahuasqueros these things, to me, it's legit, because these Icaros open up the experience to something that is just beyond what any other type of music can possibly do. It's amazing.
Okay. I'm gonna have to listen to that again because if you're a person who hasn't delved into psychedelics, it's your choice. Always has been, always will be. But you can listen to these songs and do something like wash the dishes, and you kind of it would probably feel easier for you. It's kind of got this. It's kind of upbeat, very simplistic, very nature sounding, if you ask me, and it'll kind of get you moving. I like to, I'll like to get stoned again and just sit in a room and turn on YouTube and just type in Icaros, excuse me, and just play them. They're very relaxing.
Yeah, and a lot of them are created or learned for the intention of performing a certain particular act. Like my teacher would say,
Okay.
if he's in an ayahuasca ceremony and people are say there's like a dark entity around a person, there are certain Icaros for protection. There are certain Icaros to ward that dark spirit out. There are certain Icaros to bring in infinity, to bring in the spirit of the Buddha, the spirit of the
Wow.
earth, cosmic consciousness. Like there are different Icaros for different things, and that's why sometimes people say that it's unless you know what Icaros you're listening to, it can be kind of weird when you go into experience and listen to them. But if you get them from a good source, and you know that they're coming from like a true shaman, and they're done with the intent of healing, then the Icaros can be used in with any ceremony in the presence of any substance, really.
Okay. So there's definitely seems to be an upsweep in having the ayahuasca experience, which I'm sure eventually you'll probably delve into once you get your degree in being a sitter. Probably the next thing you get yourself into. And
Yes, for sure.
why do you think there's been? Oh, that's good, good, good. Thank you. Um, why do you think there seems to be an upsweep of people wanting to have this experience? Do you think it's because it's being promoted, or do you think it's because it's kind of using the internet and maybe actually some type of, because I believe it to be an entity myself, to it's trying to reach us now, and so I'm just why now? I guess that's why I'm asking. Why are we learning about ayahuasca now?
I happen to agree with you. I do think that there is some sort of an intelligence behind it that is, popping itself up at the right time. I think Terence McKenna said the plants are in charge. We think we are, but the plants are actually in charge, and I happen to agree with that. And I think that our world is in such disarray at this time
Mm,
that we are yearning for a real, true way of connecting with ourselves, connecting to nature, connecting to the divine, and breaking free of these systems that have shackled us for all of these years. The political systems, the cultural systems that we've grown up in, all the wars. We're told when we're young that the president of the United States is the greatest man in the history of the world. And all you have to do is vote for the right person and your problems will be solved. But we're seeing in our political system now that it could not be more broken on both sides. And I think people are yearning for a true way to really break free of these systems and to find something that
yes.
lies within ourselves, our connection to something deeper, that will allow us to live true, happy lives, because we don't really understand anymore what happiness and true joy is. We've divorced ourselves from the things in life that really bring us true joy,
Yes.
true meaning. We're going through a meaning crisis, as John Vervaeke would say. We're in the meaning crisis right now, and we're looking for purpose, and not just purpose, but we're looking for something to ignite what we all know is innate within us, which is really essentially love with a capital L, in my opinion.
Hmm. So yeah, people are wanting to ask the true I, because that's what I call it, the true I. There's also what you see in the mind's eye. I've always never been able to say the words the way that I feel them, but that's kind of what I use. It's like the funny thing is once you've taken these substances, I feel that it was there all along. You just kind of forgot. That's all it was. You just forgot. It's like, hey, do you remember? Remember when like you seen a puppy for the first time, or all the first experiences you had? But that can still exist. That's still the truth, and it's okay. And it kind of makes all these crises that you were talking about, whatever it is, political or not, it kind of doesn't dissipate them, but it makes them not as important as they want you to feel that they should be important. You know what I mean? Like it changes it for you. Like, oh, I see it. I'm aware of it, but I'm not going to let it affect me as they want me to be affected.
Yeah, and it makes you realize that this isn't the way that things have to be. Like we're kind of brought up in this solidified concrete structure, and we think that nothing else can exist, nothing else can really change within a certain frame.
Mm,
But in reality, like none of this has to be the way it currently is. We can change this world for the better, and we can all live in peace and harmony and not have these wars and not have all this hatred and division that's permeating throughout not just our society but so many societies throughout the world.
yeah, it's very cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's literally the golden rule. It's literally that. And it's not even that. It's more profound than that. Much more profound than that. But for somebody who hasn't had the experience yet, or will be soon, it kind of brings you into that mindset. It already puts that. I've always loved that because it puts people there who don't understand the concepts of psychedelics that they bring for you. But that is basically what that is. You are everyone, and everyone is you. So when you go out into the world and you meet someone, you treat them as if you were meeting yourself or someone was coming towards you. And that's, if we do that, then a lot of things change. A lot of things change.
Yeah, man, all life is precious. I don't even kill bugs anymore. I can't bring myself to kill anything because I realize like the
Where are you again, Josh?
immensity.
In New York?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Okay, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
You take that mentality, you move down here to the rainforest, and you let me know if you're not going to kill any bugs, because they will walk you out the door, my friend.
Well, yeah, here in Pennsylvania, luckily I don't have to encounter too many of them, but I do. I am at war with flies. I will kill flies because I have a mortal hatred in my heart for them because they infest my house in the summertime. So I will kill them, but that's about it.
Oh,
Maybe ants too, but
okay. We have down here like 5 different types of mosquitoes. The yellow ones are the ones you got to be aware of for malaria. Then I also have dengue fever, which goes around here every year, and it knocks you out for 3 days, and it makes your bones hurt. Um, you there's marching ants that will march towards my cabin in the woods and literally just climb up over and just march on through. And I'm swatting and spraying ants for about 3 hours, dude. And I'm sorry, but it's just, I know what you're saying, Josh, but there's a part of where there's a line. It's like they're in my sugar right now. I don't like that.
yeah, dude, it's much easier for me to say something like that living in Pennsylvania where there's just like not a whole lot of bugs. But believe me, if I was where you are, I would rethink that.
It's always been that thing. It's kind of I'm a big fan of comedy. I actually will be doing stand up tonight in Spanish for like fourth or fifth time.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's hard. I've done it in English for many years in Germany, and I've also done it in German too. So this is my third language. They're a lot more receptive than the Germans when it comes to stand up, and they actually help you along if you don't know a word. And it's a lot of fun. So when my lady comes back, we're gonna eat something, take a nap, and then go do stand up tonight. But anyway, yeah, um, stand up, talking. I don't know. I can't remember where my train of thought is off. When you know why, Josh. But oh yeah, the bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bugs and stuff. Bugs. Yeah. It changes things. I do agree with you. I remember being in Germany, and you'll have like I live next to the forest too. I've been living next or into the forest for the last Oh man, since 2007, however long that's been. And I just, for me, it's always been a sacred place. And for me, if you were saying that these sacrileges are sacrament, a lot of these ideas and connections you can find in the forest. And I remember being with my deep depression and going out there, with even without psychedelics and meditating. But I think taking a strong psychedelic and being in a city environment is, I don't think is as good as going into a natural environment.
I totally agree. I definitely agree. It's, I mean, set and setting are huge, and setting being very, very important. You know, if you go down to the jungle and you take ayahuasca or something compared to doing it in your living room, you're going to have a very different experience. But I do believe that at a certain dose, it becomes less important, especially depending on
Okay.
what your intentions are. Because at high enough doses, no matter where you are, you're gone, which is a good thing in my opinion, because it sort of makes it universal. Because people like me and people who live where I live, it's hard to get down to the jungle. You know, it's very difficult. So if we have access to, say, a real high dose of mushrooms, not that I recommend anyone does it, but you know, you can definitely have a really, really beautiful experience. But I totally agree. I think being in nature is, it's very important.
Yeah. Taking your shoes off and grounding yourself. We intentionally made sure that we lived away from any power lines. We have no cell signal. Where I live, it's kind of in a cauldron, like in a valley cauldron, and it just kind of goes over top of us. So we don't get any of that. And being out there, I do have solar, and I just kind of get in my hammock at night and turn off the lights. I don't even have the lights on. I let the sun go down, use the natural sunlight and all those kind of things. And it's very helpful. And I just, you know what I mean? I would, I would bet 9 times out of 10 times it's better to go into nature, my opinion, when taking any substances.
How is your view of the sky? Can you see a whole lot of stars? Can you see the Milky Way where you're at?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. My light pollution is not as bad as it was where I grew up, and then a little better than where I just was living in Germany. It's better, but it's not the best I've ever seen. The best I've ever seen was in Fort Irwin, California, when I was doing NTC fighter in the military, and we went outside of the base about 10 miles behind this mountain, and we stopped the Humvees, and I got out, and I just couldn't believe my eyes. I I think it's the biggest robber of the connection to the universe is modern society in the lights and light pollution. It's unbelievable. There's a song from a band called Pussifer, and it's called the Grand Canyon. It's talking. They keep talking about standing on the edge of forever, and when you don't have that star, the view of the stars, you don't feel this connection because there's no roof to this. People don't, you know what I'm saying? Like when you go outside, there's no roof. It's just forever in every direction. And we are standing literally on something and then forever. And yeah, so it could be better. I do, occasionally see shooting stars, and, I used to be, into astronomy. I used to have a telescope and look at Jupiter and Saturn and all that. It's the eye of Jupiter. That's why it's, as you can see, my whole thing is a little psychedelic. I always put in the AI, blah 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 plus cosmic, because I love the aesthetics of it. And I don't remember what you asked me, but they had the stars. They could be better, but I really enjoy them.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. That's like the easiest way to realize our connection with the cosmos is just to look up. But in most places, especially like
Mm.
where I'm at, you can't see anything, man. You have to go. There is a place about 4 hours away from where I'm at, though. It's a hiking spot. It's a national park called Cherry Springs, which is
But
and
you
it's
must be in Philly, the Philadelphia. You're from the Philadelphia area, then must be.
the Allentown area. So it's like an hour away from Philly.
Oh
An
yeah, yeah,
hour,
yeah.
40
I'm from
minutes.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
I'm from Baltimore. I'm from
Oh, okay.
Baltimore.
So you get it too. Yeah. I
It's
mean,
really
you
close.
you
Oh
see
yeah,
nothing. Yeah.
Allentown. Yeah. Oh man, nothing.
Yeah. You got to go out way
So
out
you
into the
go. So
country.
do you take trips out there with your fiance and just kind of on the weekend once in a while and go camping, something like that?
Once in a while. I've only been to this one spot
Ah,
called Cherry Springs once, but it's a really great spot. Actually, people who are like astronomers, they have like a specific field for astronomers because it's very popular for astronomers to go there because you can see the
wow.
Milky Way so well. So I was able to see it once and it was, I mean, just astounding. And man, I look up at the stars here. I'm just like, we are missing so much in this stupid area that I'm
So
in.
much.
You know, the light pollution is it just takes
Yeah,
everything over.
it's awful. Like I think there's a quote from Joe Rogan. He was like, "Yeah, people just go." I think it's one of his stand-up bits. Like, people say, "Oh, we went to the Grand Canyon. It was amazing. We went to the pyramids. It was amazing." He goes, "Really? Have you ever just looked up at nighttime?" you know, and it's the most astounding thing ever, and we're missing that connection. And shows like this being on YouTube, people then kind of direct their attention here, which is, I guess, a double-edged sword. If it takes their here and it redirects them back outside again, then maybe we are doing something to help.
Yeah, man, we're trying, you know, we're trying to use these tools, these electronic devices to, you know, to spread the word and to, you know, to do good in this world.
So, yeah, I guess we're kind of winding down. It has a natural feel to it, as you probably know as well. Is there anything that you're wanting to promote? Are you having any projects in the future? Is there anything you can tell us to look forward to?
Well, if anybody likes the sound of my voice or what I have to say, you can head over to the Pursuit of Infinity podcast on Apple, Spotify. We have a YouTube channel. You know, we're pretty much everywhere. Me and my brother, we love talking about stuff like this, and I love to interview interesting people. So yeah, if you're
Mm,
interested, you can head on over there, support us, and give us a listen or a watch.
yeah, go out there and give them a thumbs up to you. Are you on YouTube as well?
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Give them a like, give them a thumbs up because that helps the algorithm. This is it does. I think I'm going to be checking it out myself. Put it on the old what do I call it? Spot Apple? No, not that one. One of those podcasting things that you can. One of those apps. And I'll be listening to your podcast as well. I hope it was interesting, dude. I really enjoyed it very much. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it was fantastic, man. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Anytime, dude. I think we should maybe even consider doing this in the future once in a while because I think it's a message that needs to go out there, man. Thank you.
I would love to, man. I'd love to come back on.
All right. Hold on one second, and I'll be talking to you right after the show. I gotta do an
All right.
outro. All right. So that was Josh Leonard. I hope you guys really enjoyed that talk. He's a very well versed. Seems to be he's very nice, very intelligent, and a lot of fun to talk to. I really enjoyed talking to Josh. Do me a favor if you like what you're listening to or watching, like and subscribe, and write something. Write to me. If you have any interesting stories, you can send them to me as well. And remember, excuse me, I clear was. We are the Eye of Jupiter, and we are aware. Thank you. You have been listening to the Eye of Jupiter podcast. If you have any strange occurrences, stories, or witnessed anything out of the ordinary, don't be afraid to send me an email at the Eye of Jupiter podcast at gmail.com, and maybe you will be on the show. And please remember, we are the Eye, and we are aware.